I got into the money. I think I played pretty well. Given the circumstances. Out here, lucky chances. And I got my money in there with the best of it. I needed to run some hands together in order to move up and really have a shot. So I jumped into another satellite, turned it online, and I found him. Couldn't really get anything in a super turbo structure like that. You gotta get something at some point. I was down to 24. I jacked 7 offsuit under the gun. Decided to fold it with the blinds at 4-8, thinking I would have some time to get something better. And the blinds go up. So when it gets to me, it's 8-16, and I have to put 16 into the big blind. So I only have 8 behind. It means I'm basically going to call any 2 cards. We're only 4-handed at this point. Top 3 get paid. First to act raises. The other 2 guys fold. I, of course, call blind. He flips over ace-jack of hearts. I flip over ace-king of diamonds. The flop comes king, deuce 3, 2 diamonds. Guess what the turn is? Fucking 4 hearts. 4 hearts. And we are out. We are out. I'm pretty happy with that. We are out. I think as the day goes on, this peppermint patty helps. More satisfying with it. All right, well, back to work. Let's do this. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Come on, G. Come on. Come on. Get into the zone. Pump yourself up, G. Come on. Come on, G. All right. Jesus, almost got stung by a bee. All right, doing pretty good. Running pretty good. Got some pretty good hands. Knocked out a player when I got dealt pocket kings. And they got ace 10. Flop came 10 high. And they checked to me. I bet. They called. Turn was a blank. It's lower than a 10. And they checked to me. I bet. They check raised. All in. I thought about it for a little bit just to, get a feel for what I thought he probably likely had. I thought he probably had some kind of a 10 holding. Did not think, or maybe a pair and a straight draw, since there was a 7-4-3 with the 4 coming on the turn, I believe, or the 7, or the 4 coming on the turn. And called, and he had ace 10, and he showed ace 10, held up, and then pretty big hand where I had ace 3 of diamonds, and it was folded to a I believe it was in the hijack who raised, and then I elected to 3-bet here. He raised it to about 1,200. I re-raised 3,000. given that I have position, I was putting him on sort of more of a standard range for raising in middle position. I thought my hand would play pretty well and I would have a position and some deception after the flop. Folded around, he calls. The flop is bingo bango Vince. It's a queen high, 3 diamonds, so I flopped the nuts. And he checks over to me. I like to down bet a very small amount, 3,000 again, and he calls pretty quickly. At this point, I'm really just thinking about how do I maximize value, and the turn is an offsuit blank. I bet against small, 4,500, electing to keep him in the hand, which is what happens. Then the river is another diamond. So we got 4 diamonds on the board. He elects to bet out. And I'm loving life at that point because I've got the nuts and he's betting into me. And he bets out, I believe it was 20,000. It's a pretty big amount, pretty sizable amount of his stack. And I just take a little time just to act like I'm thinking about it. I push all in and he calls instantly. Turns over king of diamonds and another card. I forget what it was, but yeah, he had the second nut flush, I had the nut flush. And right now I am chip leader at the table. Let's get back in. So I think I misplayed a hand there. I had ace king in late position and I raised the 3,000 with blinds at 400, 800 with the 800 big blind ante. And the player to my left, sort of solid, tight aggressive player, he flat calls, and then it gets folded to the small blind, either small blind or the big blind, and he also flat calls. So it's 3 people to a flop, and the flop comes out queen 10-7 with 10-7 of diamonds, and I have the ace of diamonds, ace king. So under the early position player checks, and it's on me, and I think about it for a while, and I think, you know, my mistake here is not pushing on the flop. I still have about 48,000 behind. Here I have an inside straight draw, backdoor flush draw plus 2 overs. And I'm up against one player who's been fairly a little bit passive. He's the under the gun player, and the late position player is tight aggressive, solid. But I think in this situation, given my hand strength, I probably should have pushed. I mean, the board texture is pretty wet though. You're going to be hitting a lot of hands and hitting a lot of draws, so that's what gave me pause to even follow through with a continuation bet. So I check, and the tight aggressive player behind me checks. Turn is offsuit 9, so now the early position player who is in the blind, he leads out for a small amount, and I just fold at this point, figuring I'm behind. I'm looking for some kind of jack on the river, maybe a ace or a king. So it folds to the tight aggressive guy. He calls. Then the river, there's some action, blah blah blah. The tight aggressive guy raises the more passive player who is under the gun a big amount to put him all in. He was a short stack, and the short stack early position player thinks for a very long time before calling with ace 10, and the tight aggressive, solid guy. He turns over pocket nines for a turn set, so the river is irrelevant. So he takes down the pot, which I think I could have won with more aggression on the flop, just following through with that bet in that position. But I got a little over 45,000. Now as we head into the final break before registration closes, so I'm above, the buy-in amount of 30,000, but not in great position. I've just been bleeding chips since I ran it up early on in the game. Just been bleeding, so we're going to see if we can get some hands here and turn it around. Feeling nervous, or it might be all this caffeine. Oh my God, I am dying out here. Whew. So, lines will be going up. I don't even know what level we're at. God, I got like 32,000. I've just been sitting and nursing, getting no hands. Got kings once, open raised, everyone folded. Been getting junk. Even marginal hands, I'm not in a good position to play. I'm out of position against solid, tight players coming in for a big raise. So, just trying to survive right now. We got 59 players left. 38 get paid and move on to day two. Let's keep going. Fuck yeah, baby, we did it. Woo! Min cash. Made it to 38, which means I'm coming back tomorrow, 12 o'clock. All right. Man, I'm so relieved. So relieved. Whew. Got the bag. We're doing a little victory walk out here in the rain to get our Uber pool.
Bye-bye, Bobby.
Well, wasn't the result I was hoping for. I was really hoping to run up everything. But, in the end, I got into the money. I think I played pretty well, given the circumstances. And I got my money in there with the best of it. And I needed to run some hands together in order to move up and really have a shot. And so I ended up taking 70th place. Good for 2,000. So, we moneyed in my first entry into the Battle of the Bay. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think as the day goes on, I'll be more satisfied with it. All right, well, back to work.